Hello, good morning. So I'm a little bit later this morning because it's been an interesting morning. So, of course, you know the drill, coffee. And but as I was waking up this morning in my normal or regular, not normal, it's never normal, but in my good morning, Lord conversation that I tend to have every morning or try to have every morning, and been successful so far, I suddenly get this, yo man, this feeling of loneliness that came over me. This feeling of rejection, this feeling of being cast aside, this feeling of not being included, just come over me, and it was crazy about, and I start thinking about how it feels people don't want me part of their lives. They say they do, but where's the proof? I don't get no invites. Come have a bride at our house or celebrate certain events with us. I don't get invites. If I don't invite myself, I don't get invited. And that's pathetic. But I got so, yo, man, and yo, I got, yes, I don't even know. I don't really have an explanation for the emotions. But here I sit every single day, and I tell you that if you want a relationship with God, you spend time with Him, you make time for Him. The same goes with the relationships we have with the people around us. You spend time with them. You're not going to have a good marriage if you see your wife and spend time with your wife 1 hour a week, for argument's sake. You're not going to have a good friendship or anything if you speak to your friend once every 3 months. You know, you gotta make the time and the effort for them. But if they're not worth making time and effort for, then surely they aren't good enough. And that's how I'm sitting on the receiving end, going, okay, if people don't make time for me and don't reach out to me, then you know, it's not going to be a thing for me. So whether it is a relationship, you're dating someone or spouse or friendship, whichever one, it doesn't matter. But fortunately, I'm in that area where I realize God has made me enough. He made me wise enough at this by this stage to realize that He's made me enough. But also to realize now this is where the enemy was trying to get in. He was trying to get his way in here. He was trying to climb in and probably have a field day and have a jaw. Trying to tell me, dude, you're not good enough. You're not good enough for the people. Nobody wants you. You're not worth their time. Blah 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 blah. The lekker blah blah blah, and it's crazy. In that moment that I realize that I'm now on the ground that many of you could be facing, probably are facing. It's probably been a story of your life, if I want to call it that. Now, and this brought me back to from my school days. When I came from an area where I was bullied and being cast aside. That's what bullying does. The only tension you do get from people is when they do their bullying or whatever, and the rest of the time you're not included or involved in anything unless you actively stand and put yourself in there. Having to invite yourself in, force yourself in, reach out to people. I need to reach out to people. Nobody reaches out to me. Nobody, very rarely, maybe even. So, and in that moment, my friend, yes, man, I told you, I was standing there. I was looking myself in the mirror just before I got in the shower, and I got fed up, man. Showering took a little bit longer. That's why I'm late this morning. And I got so fed, I climbed into prayer. Man, I climbed into prayer. I put some music on. I climbed into prayer. I started worshiping. And I'm complaining. I'm at God. I'm like, God, why am I feeling like this? God, where's the people? God, why is there nobody in my life? Why does nobody want me? Why am I feeling like this? Where is my people to go to? Where's my people that I can reach out to and talk to? Because I base it on, for me, of the names that I think of, that comes to mind. And in that moment, nobody, nothing, not a single person in this whole morning so far came to mind. And God popped in, and you know what he you know what he said to me? You know what God said to me? This is what He said. I'm here. I'm waiting for you. I'm ready. What is it you need? What is it that you want to talk about? What's on your mind? This was the most ridiculous. In that moment, I was so overwhelmed. I started getting goosebumps, and it's like His presence immediately filled this place, just to come hold me and just tell me, dude, you're enough. I love you, my son. It's crazy. And then this is what he does. He brings these verses in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. It says, coming to him as to a living stone, rejected indeed by men, but chosen by God and precious. 1 Peter 5 verse 8, he says, be sober and vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Remember, the enemy is not a lion. He only walks around like a lion. Jesus is the Lion of Judah, my friend. That's where a lion comes in. This is what you need to realize, and you need to get your mind to. Don't get lost in that stuff of the mind. You bounce in there and you attack this stuff. It also brought me to Isaiah 53, verse 3 and verse 5. Verse 3 says, he is despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. But in verse 5 it says, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. So despite what people did, I believe here they're speaking about Jesus. The world rejected him as well, and yet he died for us. In John, this crossed me over to John chapter 15, verse 18. It says, if the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. Jesus said to us, and bear in mind that, this can come from many angles. My rejection feeling that I suffered this morning was all around, from the world side and from the church side. People that I know in the world, people that I know from church, it feels the same, that I'm the one reaching out all the time. Nobody comes to me, and God reminded me that he chose me. He reminded me that he loves me. He reminded me that I'm more than enough. He even reminded me that in that space where I'm feeling my longing for my spouse, my life partner, where in my longing for, where I want friendships like that, where I can talk this sort of stuff to, it is enough. And you know what? I felt his enoughness on other levels. I felt his love. I mean, my chom, hoendervleis op ander levels. My hoendervleis het hoendervleis gehad. It was goosebumps upon goosebumps, and we love these moments, but there's different kinds of that moments, and just that I felt a hug, man, and I hope really you get that hug in that moment where you're sitting. His presence came into this place, as I said earlier, on other levels, and in 1 Peter chapter 2 again, verse 9 and 10, he says, but you're a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, his own special people, that you may proclaim the praises of him who called you out of darkness and into his marvelous light, who once were not a people, but are now a people of God, who had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. God is gracious, my friend. So this morning, don't be discouraged by those feelings when they come over you. It happens. I feel it's a natural occurrence, and that's the enemy trying to keep us down. Get your head down. Get your shoulders strong. Get your stance right. It's time to attack now, man. It's time to charge in that thing like a roaring lion, and you roar at that thing. You roar at that thing. Sorry, I'm not going to spit in the microphone. You roar at that thing. You give it all you got. You get that enemy out of your mind and out of your house. God is keeping certain people away from you from time to time, because they might not be the people that you need for where you are going. They might be keeping you away from them. Because of that, they maybe have influences or that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know the reason. But trust God. Trust his process. God knows what you need. God knows where you're going. He always knew what he was doing. He knows what he's doing now. He will always know what he's doing. Trust him and trust in his process.